Hello everyone, I'm forecaster Jack Sillin here with your tropical weather discussion for Monday, June 22nd, 2020. We'll start off today with the only area of interest currently highlighted by the National Hurricane Center. This is an area of low pressure approximately halfway between Bermuda and Cape Cod. You can see that there's really no organized convection associated with this system, just a few showers and thunderstorms scattered intermittently around its circulation. So this started out as a non-tropical area of low pressure. It remains a non-tropical area of low pressure and does not appear to be producing nearly enough shower and thunderstorm activity to transition to a tropical or subtropical cyclone. So really not much in the way of impacts expected here, and not expecting any named storm out of this feature as it drifts off slowly to the east into cooler waters south of Nova Scotia in the next couple days. The big story across the tropics really is this outbreak of Saharan dust. This is a plume of dust that emerged off the Sahara Desert a few days ago. It is now surging west through the Caribbean, so extremely hazy conditions, poor air quality all across the Lesser Antilles into Puerto Rico, into parts of Hispaniola. Cuba is up next in a little bit here. Probably by the end of the day today, Cuba will be getting into this dust as strong easterly winds continue pushing this plume of dry air off to the west-northwest. Notice, of course, that there's shower and thunderstorm activity lining the edge of this dry air mass right here, nearly a perfect little ring of fire, if you will, but there's nothing in the way of convection within this dry air mass. If you're curious about why that is, I'll post a link to in the description to the blog post I did a couple days ago explaining why the Saharan air layer is so hostile to convective activity. So this plume of dust really going to be dominating the tropics. If we click over near the edge of the map to pan off to the east, you can see that it extends basically across the entire Atlantic basin, although it's a little bit less dense until you get back close to the desert. So this is really in charge of the Atlantic basin at the moment. It will remain so for the next several days. Here's a look at the dust forecast from one of NASA's models. So if we thumb through here, this brings us up to right about the current moment. So the dust is moving through the Greater Antilles now. If we continue to frame forward, we can see that it's going to sort of slowly or gradually move off to the northwest. It's going to consolidate a little bit. Right now it's this sort of elongated plume of dust. It's going to consolidate a little bit as we move through the week into this more circular, axially symmetric blob of dust. Not that that really makes that much of a difference, but it will help to concentrate this dust and keep the concentrations high enough to cause air quality concerns even as this dust moves up into parts of the Gulf Coast. So we see these plumes of dust nearly every year, but it's very rare that we see dust this dense make it all the way across the Atlantic. That's several thousand miles for this dust to remain in the atmosphere, all the way into Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and adjacent parts of the southeast. It's going to make it all the way to Georgia and Florida by by next week rather. So this is a really anomalously strong dust outbreak. And afterwards, you can see that we're tapering off. The dust won't be nearly as widespread or as intense across the Atlantic basin as it was this week. Does that mean that the basin is going to be becoming more favorable for tropical cyclone formation in the next few days, or rather in the next week or so? Well, as far as the ensembles are concerned, the answer is basically no. So you can see that basically there's not a single EPS member that's developing anything in the tropics. All right, there's one out of 51 members taking a tropical depression through the northwestern Caribbean, by July 5th. That's not exactly a strong signal or something to be even remotely concerned about at this point. So the ensemble is basically suggesting dead water in the tropical Atlantic for the foreseeable future. Another way to visualize that is this tropical depression probabilistic forecast, and you can see that aside from where it might be getting tricked by the monsoon trough down there in Panama, we're really like less than 10% chance of a tropical depression forming in the next 10 days. So nothing specific immediately to worry about here. As far as the background state goes, we're actually shifting towards a little bit more favorable background state, especially as we move into July. So this is this orange shading here. That's the suppressed convective phase of this convectively coupled Kelvin wave, which is a sort of offshoot of the Madden-Julian oscillation. If those terms and those words don't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. What we're looking at here is a time versus longitude plot, basically showing where in the tropics, right, what longitudes is convection or thunderstorm activity favored by this background state, and where is it suppressed. So these cool colors suggest areas where thunderstorm activity is getting a boost from this low frequency forcing, and these warm colors suggest areas where convection is being suppressed by these low frequency forcing mechanisms. So basically what we're looking at here is this area of orange, this suppressed phase, which is what we're dealing with now. This is basically just moving out of the Atlantic into Africa. You can see it was in the Atlantic, a couple days ago. That's actually partially responsible, perhaps mostly responsible, for this dust outbreak that we've been dealing with, believe it or not. We can connect these convectively suppressed phases of the MJO and these Kelvin waves to outbreaks of Saharan dust. So that's just another reason we haven't been seeing any activity in the tropical Atlantic recently. But you can see that suppressed phase is going to give way to this more enhanced phase, mostly in the eastern Pacific in the near term, right? So we have 3 disturbances to watch in the eastern Pacific. We'll likely see 1 to 2 of those develop into a named storm this week, but those will not pose any threat to land. And then by the time we move into early July, we'll see that enhanced phase of this low frequency forcing move out into the Atlantic. So we could be looking at a more favorable environment for tropical cyclone formation, say after July 3rd. But as far as specific disturbances to watch so far, nothing in that department. So that's just a quick look at the overall environment here, why it's unfavorable now, and to what extent it will remain unfavorable in the week or so to come. So yeah, this is climatologically speaking about what we'd expect. We don't usually get a whole lot of activity here in the month of June, so we're running par for the course at the moment with this quiet pattern that we're in, and fingers crossed that continues later into the season, although from any rigorous scientific standpoint, it certainly does not appear that will be the case. So take this time to prepare, take this quiet period in the Atlantic to brush up on your hurricane plan, make sure it's adapted to the COVID era, and make sure that you're ready when a storm does show up, be it next month or next year or next decade. It's impossible to tell at this point, but I can say for pretty darn sure that it won't be next week. With that, have a great day, have a great week, and thanks so much for watching.